What kind of player does Jimmy Garoppolo offer to a team that might be interested in adding him to their quarterback competition?
Well, Phil, think about this. When Jimmy G's been healthy, Jimmy G's been a winning quarterback. The problem wasn't necessarily his performance in San Francisco. It was his durability. Kyle Shanahan came out and said, Jimmy has played a ton of good football. The problem is right now, like it's a game of musical chairs, and so far all the chairs are full. I would just say this, and I would ask Shefty and even RC this. How many times have we seen the team give permission to a player to seek a trade? That usually means, yeah, go try to find somebody because we've looked and we haven't found anybody. Usually this means at some point in the near future, Jimmy G's probably going to be cut. At least that's the way I perceive it, fellas.
Yeah, no, I feel you, Booger. And that's the weird thing now, right? If this happens early on in the offseason, if Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, then I think there are a lot of teams that are vying for his services. But right now at this point, when all of the seats, as Booger says, has been filled, I just think it's very difficult to find a spot for him, especially with teams knowing, okay, will the San Francisco 49ers go into camp, presumably with their starter Trey Lance, and still keep Jimmy Garoppolo? I think the only team I can think of that Jimmy Garoppolo gets an opportunity to start or challenge to start right now is the Seattle Seahawks, the Carolina Panthers. You've now drafted a quarterback and also brought in Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Indianapolis Colts have quarterbacks. So everyone has filled all of these spots. And now you really put Jimmy Garoppolo in a very tough situation, which is why I believe the agents have an opportunity to seek a deal. So maybe you can find some mutual interest.
Well, I think the truth of the matter here is that if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have the shoulder surgery in March, the 49ers trade him then. But when he has the surgery, that slows down the process. And by giving the agents permission now, that's essentially enlisting support to try to get him traded, which they're going to need anyway, because the agents are going to be the ones that have to redo his contract. Yeah. So they have to be on board. So you might as well include them in the process to facilitate a trade that's more difficult to make now than it was in March when he had the shoulder surgery. Now, we go into camp, and yes, there's not an obvious landing spot outside of Seattle, and we don't know whether or not the 49ers would be willing to trade Jimmy Garoppolo in the division. But here's the thing. Teams go to camp. Once teams get in camp, players get hurt. Players struggle. Dynamics change. And because Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have an obvious landing spot on July 20th doesn't mean that he won't have an obvious landing spot on August 20th. The situations are always changing and always fluid. And so we'll see how this shakes out. No, there's not an obvious landing spot, but the 49ers now are working with the agents who need to redo a deal to try to facilitate a trade to make it happen for everybody's sake.
Yeah, Shefty, you're right. We do have time on our side. But, and I don't want to put you on the spot here if you don't know the answer to this, it feels to me like a trade request could be another step in the process that could eventually precede the possibility of outright releasing Jimmy Garoppolo, because $24 million is far too expensive for the 49ers to afford for a backup quarterback. Is that something that could eventually bubble up if that opening never materializes?
Well, that salary doesn't become guaranteed until he's on the opening day roster. And I believe the 49ers play the Seahawks in the second game of the season. Yeah. So if they're going to cut him right now, you'd have to think that he would land in Seattle potentially. Yeah. Why would you do that right now without carrying him through the summer? Plus, you still don't know what Trey Lance is going to do during the summer. What if he's not impressive? What if he struggles to pick up the offense? Yeah. What if he's not performing up to expectations? Wouldn't you want Jimmy Garoppolo as an option then, rather than just cutting him before camp when you would be on the hook for his injury guarantee? I think it's $7.2 million anyway. Yeah. So again, time is on their side right now, but it'll shift later this summer.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.